10.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third installment of the Career Pathways in Chemistry webinar series, brought to you by the UPLB Chemical Society Elementa Project in cooperation with the UPLB Institute of Chemistry. I am Leilani Mercado, and I will be your moderator. Now, this webinar series is a career orientation program for everyone exploring various career options in higher education for college students, chemistry and non-chemistry majors, fresh graduates, high school students, parents, professionals. It's for everybody. Our speakers come from different sectors of the chemistry employment world, and they are here to share with us their experiences. Our first webinar featured Dr. Joey Santos, who related his journey in the academe as he became a university professor, and Dr. Isagani Padolina, who talked about organizational leadership in the chemical industry area. Then we had Dr. Earl Ada, who discussed his experience in laboratory management in the academe, and Dr. Ruela Pabalan on innovation in an industrial setting. Today, our two speakers are UPLB ChemSoc alumni who will share their journeys in the academic and in the corporate worlds. Before we start, I would like to remind the audience to type your questions in the chat box. Our speakers will entertain your questions after they give their talks. Our first speaker is Dr. Diana Aga. She is a BS Agricultural Chemistry graduate from UPLB. She served as a chemistry instructor for several years, then left for the United States and completed her PhD degree in analytical chemistry at the University of Kansas in 1995. She then did a 2-year postdoctoral training at the Swiss Federal Institute of Aquatic Science and Technology in Switzerland. Then she came back to the United States and joined the faculty of the University of Nebraska, Kearney, as an assistant professor for 2 years. And then she took an industrial position as a research chemist at Bayer Corporation. In 2002, she moved to the State University of New York in Buffalo, where she is now an endowed Henry M. Woodburn Professor of Chemistry. Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Diana Aga, my former basketball teammate in college and colleague at the Institute of Chemistry.
Well, thank you, Lani, for the nice introduction. Good morning, everyone, and good evening to those of you who are in the US. I'd like to thank the organizers, especially Glo, Ray, and Tessa and Renee for organizing this. I've watched some of the videos from previous ones, and I hope to also be able to entertain you and give you some information for today's seminar or today's workshop. So you might wonder why my title is so long. Yeah, it's because my last name is so short. I want to compensate for it. 3-letter word, you know, so I thought I'd give a really kind of a title that will hopefully catch your attention. So I think most of you would know this song that when I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be, right? Will I be rich? Will I be pretty? And so here's what she said to me. I think you all know the next one would be, it's the que sera sera, whatever will be. The future's not ours to see, que sera sera. Sorry, I can't sing. I don't have a good voice like many of the Filipinos. In other words, it's really say bahala na. So many of us would say, yeah, bahala na, and we don't really know how to plan our future sometimes. So I'll give you a little bit of story about my childhood. So I am from a very poor family. This was my first house. And this is me. Hold on, I just wanted to make sure that, do you guys? Oops.
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it, Dr. Aga.
Okay. Is it on the slideshow?
Yeah, we can see it. Slideshow now, please. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Sorry. So this is my first house, and this is me. That's not a very pretty girl. Every girl in the Philippines, I think, wants to be Miss Philippines, Miss Universe. So I'm just a typical girl. I want to be rich and I want to be pretty. That's my dream when I was a little girl. So this is not where I live. It's not my house. So I am not rich, nor I'm beautiful. I'm not pretty. This is not the Diana that I am. But what did I become? So I became a professor in the university at Buffalo. And I just wanted to, there's two kinds of professors, or there's two kinds of universities in the US at least. There's a university that's focused more for undergraduate education, and that's called PUI, or primarily undergraduate institution, where you do a lot of teaching and you serve a lot of students. So that's a very rewarding career. There's also another type of university, which is called the Research One institution, where you focus more on research and you still do undergraduate teaching, but it's only like one course per year. But you are expected to do research and to teach PhD students, to mentor PhD students, write a lot of grants, to support your students, to pay for their tuition fee, to pay for their salary, to pay for your instruments and your research. So it's a lot of research, writing, and proposals, and they expect you to write a lot of papers. So papers are one important thing, and so you rise from becoming an assistant professor. And if you don't make the bar, they kick you out, and you never go back. No, you don't go up to become an associate professor. So you move up to the associate professor, and that's not the end. You go to the full professor, which I am now, and then you don't stop there. You keep going, because once you reach the full professor and you stop doing research, they're gonna give you more and more teaching load. So it's almost like, if you don't give grants to the universities, then you teach more students. So so that's my life, basically writing proposal, teaching students to do research, becoming a PhD, and I'm also up because it's expected to us to be active in our profession. So I'm also an editor of a journal. So that's another requirement, is that you shouldn't be just be known in your university, but it is expected that you are also doing international work and being known internationally. So it's a very rewarding job, but it's also very stressful. But before I go to some of the details, I want to share with you a video. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop this, and I wanted to share with you a video from my group. Oops, hold on. Oops. I'm sorry, can I do that? Okay.
The Aga Lab at the University of Buffalo. As a lab, our primary focus is on environmental and analytical chemistry. specifically looking at chemicals of emerging concern and legacy pollutants using liquid and gas chromatography with mass spectrometry, as well as other common analytical techniques. We look at a wide range of matrices from waste, surface, and groundwater, crops, wildlife, soils, and more. Throughout her time at UB, Dr. Aga has mentored many students, resulting in a myriad of publications, some of which were selected to be journal covers due to their valuable contributions to the scientific community. Our research is funded by major grants from the National Science Foundation, Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Agriculture, and National Institute of Health. A major aspect of our research is in developing novel techniques for trace chemical analysis within the environment. Because of the significant variation between samples that we assess, as well as different analytical goals, extraction and sample preparation techniques within our lab include accelerated solvent extraction, catchers, sonication, and solid phase extraction, just to name a few. These are optimized to obtain robust methods that balance analyte recovery while minimizing effects from the matrix for trace level quantification, as well as with emerging methods such as suspect screening and non-targeted analysis. Within our lab, we have a GCMS triple quad, as well as 2 LCMS triple quads at our discretion. Additionally, within the department, we have access to a GC and LC orbitrap, an inductively coupled plasma mass spectrometer, nuclear magnetic resonance instrumentation, and more. A major aspect of our research is in developing novel techniques for trace chemical analysis within the environment. We often target tricky analytes for which methods are not readily available, such as metabolomics workflows for nanoparticles, modeling techniques for differentiating isomers of fluorochemicals, as well as the determination of transformation products within the environment. The nature of our work allows for very interesting sample collection trips, as well as travel opportunities to complete your research. We also like to do things close to home. Hiking in Western New York, lab lunches, and parties hosted by Dr. Aga are always a fun way for the group to get together outside of lab. All in all, Dr. Aga's group has always been a family, with the perfect balance of exciting and exploratory research with community and camaraderie. This is the ideal environment for any graduate student pursuing research in analytical chemistry.
All right. So I want to share again my my talk. I want to continue. So here's where I am from back in the, oops, sorry. So I am from the UPLB. I graduated in 1988. I actually started as a forest products engineering at UPLB. But after taking general chemistry with Dr. Padolina, actually, I got really interested in chemistry and I changed to agricultural chemistry because I also wanted to be, still have that agriculture background with me because my parents were farmers as well. So, you know, I didn't know about PhD before I learned from my former friends. They were all leaving. I was like, where are you guys going? And they say, we go to the US and study. And I have no idea what to do. I was like, I can't afford it. And they say, you know, they actually pay you to go there, to get a PhD. They actually pay for your stipend, for your tuition fee. And I said, wow, that sounds like a good deal. So I went to Kansas, and the story how I ended up there, back then there were no internet. So I just look at the map and I say, oh, I have friends in California, I have friends in Florida, I have friends in New York. I said, if I go to the middle, I might be able to visit them. So that's where I went. I ended up in Kansas University, which luckily was a very good university because it turns out that Kansas, or US, was actually, I've never been in the US before, was actually it's actually a huge country. I didn't realize it's not like the Philippines where you can go from Bicol to Manila in a day, right? But, you know, I actually never went out of Kansas when I was a student because I didn't realize how big the US was. But when I was a PhD student, I had two mentors. These are the mentors that I have, Professor Wilson and Mike Thurman. And I was very interested in environment because when I was growing up, I would swim in the river. And I lived in the barrio, and it's just clean environment. And after several years, I go there and I visit the river. It's polluted and the air is no longer clean. So I wanted to become an environmental chemist. So since this is career pathways, I have a daughter now, and she's going to college in July, actually August. And I tell her, Renee, that's my daughter's name, I only have 3 requirements for you that you should always think about when you think about what career you will have. There's only 3 that is really important to know. I said that you should have a job that makes you happy. That's really important, because I have friends who hate their job. Every day they would come home and say, I hate my job. Well, that's not good, because your job, you're going to do your job for many years, and you should enjoy your job. So make sure your job is enjoyable, that you like. But of course, it's important that it pays well, right? And you don't have to be really rich. Like I said, even though I dream to be rich, I'm sorry, I have a misspelling there, but it just have to be a job that pays enough money to allow you to afford what you want. So not just what you need, but also what you want. And on top of that, that you should be able to give others what they need, right? So, and the third one that I tell my daughter is that your job is legal. Okay, that's very important, because you could have a job that makes you happy and a job that pays well, but it could be illegal. So it's very important that you're doing some legal jobs. So I'll tell you a little bit about my research. So my research is in environmental chemistry, and I look at many kinds of pollutants. Those are that are very persistent in the environment, a lot of pesticides, brominated flame retardants, and fluorinated substances. I'll talk a little bit about that. And then there's so-called these emerging contaminants, which are things that we actually take, like antibiotics and pharmaceuticals, and some that are used for drug delivery. You know, the COVID vaccine, they are using engineered nanomaterials. So they are potentially actually can get into the environment and can pollute the environment. But some of our job, not just being a chemist in the lab, but we actually go out and collect samples. So you could see here in the pictures. And because I'm still always connected to the agriculture, because my training is agricultural chemistry, so I actually work with cows and animals and fish, and so in fisheries. So that's really a lot of things that you could do as environmental chemist. One thing that is fulfilling, and that one of the reasons why I enjoy my job, is that even though I'm in the US, I mentor a lot of Filipino students. So I recruit students from the Philippines. There's a lot from here. Maybe you'll recognize some from UPLB. Some of you may still recognize them from UP Diliman. Some of you are in the UP Diliman, but these are actually my recent students, and they're not all working in my group, but they're also working with other professors. But when they come here, so I used to be the graduate director. So they go, I evaluate all the applications, and so I know that the UPLB and the UP Diliman and the some of the universities in Manila, I know our training is really robust and are rigid, and so I trust the Filipino training. So even though the thing about it is, like, even though their grades are not as high as the grades here in the US of the American students, they're actually better. You know, they work hard, they have good work ethics, and they are polite, and they're very determined. So I actually prefer to have Filipino students, and they have done so well in the university here at SUNY that a lot of my professor friends want me to recruit more Filipino students. So all of them have done really well. And aside from that, I've mentored now about 60 PhD students. I've been here 16 years, and I've mentored 60 students. So I have a lot of students, and they are now professionals. Some of them are professors themselves internationally. Some of them are like, CEO of some R&D and in industry. Some are working in federal agencies. So that's kind of my reward. That's where I consider myself rich, because my students are my wealth. I know it sounds corny, but they are also my family. By the way, you will see there some Filipino students. So I always have international students, not just from the Philippines, but also from Latin America and so on. And one other thing, fulfillment that I do is actually my research is really practical, and it has health implications. So for example, some of the chemicals that we're analyzing, we have found in human breast milk, and it can be passed from the mother to the offspring, and they have effects. So I know also that in the Philippines, the frequency of the amount of people or children that have ADHD or have some mental issue are increasing. And I always wonder why it is the case. It didn't used to be like that. And I have suspicion that because we eat a lot of fish, there might be some contaminants in the fish. And we do find them, this PBDE, these polybrominated diphenyl ethers, are really high in fish, and it accumulates in the fat of the, and you know, we are always fond of the bangus belly. That's where all the contaminants are because it's fat. This contaminants are fat soluble. So I actually went to the Philippines, and because I want to give back to the Philippines, I don't want to just do research in the US, right? I want to give back to the Philippines. So and these chemicals can be transported not only from human breast milk, but also from the dust, and they're from your computer, and they're in your carpet, they're in your furniture. So I went to the Philippines through Fulbright Fellowship. So I applied for a Fulbright Fellowship. And guess what? The Filipino mothers, they breastfeed the kids, even though they're already going to elementary school, right? This is from a breastfeeding station. And this kids, he's probably like what, second grade, third grade, and they're still breastfeeding. And then we eat a lot of fish. So this is actually a farmer's market. So I spent 6 months in Ateneo de Manila, doing research on fish. And there I collaborated with a professor from Ateneo, Doris Montecastro, and I worked with her students. We collected from the bow, we collected also from dust samples, and these students, they came to my lab, they used my instrumentation, they're master students from Ateneo, and they ground all these fish samples and they analyzed it in my lab. And then we were able to publish. So this is actually a publication with students, Denise Navarro and Doris Montecastro from Ateneo. So that's again another fulfillment that I could give back to the Philippines, not just by donation, not just by money, but also by training students from other universities in the Philippines. So in my lab, because we are an analytical chemistry lab, we use a lot of modern instrumentations, and I've been lucky that I've been able to acquire these instruments in my lab. And so I welcome students to use this. I've been contacted by students from Ateneo, from UP Diliman, and I'm surprised, you know, I don't have anybody yet from UPLB. I'm hoping that some of you will contact me and come here and use my instrumentation. When you come here, you know, I actually have hosted students. They live in my house. I have enough room. You could stay with me. And I would transport you. If you don't have a car, you could ride with me. And I have a lot of Filipino students who could help you out. And all the chemicals are on me, all the instrumentation are on me. And all you need to be able to do is come here with a good idea, with a good attitude, and a good work habits. And hopefully we could help you publish your papers. Another thing that I would give you an example of what I do that I would like to impact Asia in general, in the Philippines. So antimicrobial resistance is a big problem now, right? Especially in the Philippines, you know, you could buy antibiotic over the counter. And that's not a good thing, because as the more we consume antibiotics, the more resistance development we will have. So at some point, some of these antibiotics will no longer be effective for diseases control. So one of my research is actually to look at wastewater and surface water from all over the world. And of course, Asia is one of the more polluted ones. So these are the sampling locations that we have. So I have collaborations again in the Philippines. And here we go. So these are my collaborators from UP Diliman. I send my students there. This is Dina. She's an American PhD student. And Randolph was a graduate from UP Diliman. He was also my student. They both graduated now, and he's now in Europe doing his postdoc. But they train the students. So so they went and collect samples. This is underground wastewater from SM. They collected some water from around surrounding area, and they went to Batangas to collect water samples, and they presented in UP Diliman. So we also share information, and we welcome their students to come here and present. So because we want to also train the students there, so we brought our instruments there, we brought our setups. And what they do is we collect this, the students collect the samples there, and then they send us the samples for analysis. Another thing that we did, so that's actually my daughter here. We collected samples from Laguna, and that's another faculty here, engineering, and we collected samples from Laguna and analyzed for pesticide pollution. And that's me also collecting water samples. So what we do is we prepare the samples in the Philippines, and we ship here in the US, and we do the liquid chromatography mass spectrometry here. This is my last example, and this is very recent. So perfluoroalkyl substances, these are fluorinated compounds that you'll find in Teflon. So when you're cooking from your Teflon cookingware, these are there, and these are actually bioaccumulative, and they're toxic, and they could cause cancer. And what I have done with my Filipino students, she wanted to go back to the Philippines and collect water samples from bottled water. And she actually contacted some people from UPLB, but she didn't have luck. No one was interested to work with her in UPLB, or there was I think there was a lot of requirements of paperwork to do, and we were not able to do it. So she collaborated again with UP Diliman, because there it was easy. You just contact a professor and they are interested. So there you go. She was able to collect samples from Laguna Lake. Here you go. And that's great. She's actually from UPLB. She contacted her friends from UPLB, but she didn't have a success. No one seemed to be interested. So she did it on her own with other collaborations, and she was able to publish it. These were actually her classmates also, I think, from UPLB, and we were just able to sample this, showing that actually even in bottled water, you can find these contaminants. So education is very important. I think education is the solution to pollution. And so I know that I'm only allowed to have 15 minutes, but being a professor, there's a lot of benefits. So even if you don't get rich with money, it's enough to be able to travel. It's enough, and I have a lot of time. So there's actually a joke that, so we only work 9 months, right? Because there's a summer break. So when people ask me, what are the best thing of being a professor? I tell them there's 3 things: June, July, August. Because on those times we don't have to teach. So I could travel, I could go home, I could bring my daughter to kayak, because that's what we like to do. We run marathons, we do bike, this was when she was young, but now we do bike races. I do a half marathon, so I train for that. So there's a lot of time to do something. And most of all, like I said, I have my students, my family, and now this is now my daughter. She's about to go to college. She's wearing my toga, because every year it's part of the best part is taking my students to graduation, hooding them, and so on. And then I've been able to influence my daughter to follow my footsteps. And she is actually going to college, and she's going to do environmental science. And with that, that's the end of my talk. Again, I turned 50 a couple years ago, and my students are the one that provided me with all this nice surprise party. And here we are, every summer we take pictures, and they wanted to form a chromatogram. This is a pic of a chromatogram in a mass spectrometry. So that's the end of my talk. I hope that you will be able to ask me some questions later.
Thank you, Dr. Aga, for an enlightening presentation. Thank you for introducing us to your lab and showing us that studying chemistry can be fun. And thank you for reminding us to prepare for a job that would make us happy and will pay enough and legal. We always forget that part. Okay? Now, I'd like to remind everyone to please type your questions. I know questions are now forming. Type them in the chat box, and they will be answered after both our speakers give their talks. Now we go to our next speaker. Okay. Our next speaker is Mr. Noel Bautista. He is also a graduate of UPLB. He completed his BS Chemistry degree in 1990. Right after graduation, he stayed on to teach organic and analytical chemistry, and then he went to Japan to pursue his Master of Science in Marine Environmental Science at Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology under the Japanese Ministry of Education Scholarship Program, or the Munbushu. After that, he returned to the Philippines and pursued a career in brewing. He worked as a brewing research specialist at San Miguel Corporation. This led to a job at Novozymes, which has brought him to regional and global positions in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, in Basel, Switzerland, and Beijing, China. Now, Novozymes is the world leader in biological solutions of enzymes and microorganisms for household care, food and beverage, and agriculture and technical industries. He has been involved in various roles in the technical, marketing, and sales divisions for 19 years before finally settling in the Philippines when the company established its representative office in 2018. Today, he is the country manager for the Philippine office of Novozymes. Let's all welcome another former co-teacher of mine at UPLB, Mr. Noel Bautista.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Am I audible enough?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, well, thank you very much, Lani, for that introduction. And also, thank you very much, Dr. Aga. That was really inspiring. I must say that you are more than Princess Diana and Wonder Woman, simply because it's all from your effort that you are there right now. So congratulations, and I do believe that you are really fantastic, doing very well in your career. So I have this sharing with you. I purposely titled it as a purpose-driven journey, simply because pursuing a career is quite a journey, as what you have actually also heard from Diana. So what do we have for today? I prepared just these three simple things today. Elementa. So see, there's the key elements for today. I will share with you a story of how a seed can become a fully grown tree with the help of chemistry. Okay, as I have said, pursuing a career is a process. And now you have seen that a seed becoming a full-grown tree. And what else do you need for that's a seed to become a tree? Of course, you need some nourishment, water, right? And also plenty of sun. So these are the things that you need in order for you to become a real full-grown tree. And what's that number one in there? That's actually you. So that seed represents you. And that water, nourishment, that's what you need to build. That's the competency that you need to build. Now, that's what you heard a lot from Dr. Aga earlier, that she has built a lot of her competency in there. And then, what's that number? So everyone is a chemist here or knows chemistry, yeah? So there's really a mole of opportunities out there that's up for grabs. You just have to really find it, search for it. So this is the picture that I'd like you to remember in this sharing session. Yeah, that one, because after this session, people usually remember the graphics, not what the speakers say. So there's a high percentage of everyone remembering that. About more than 40% remembers after a week, and then if just words or a talk, only 10% is remembered. So I hope that you will remember this one, okay? So you need to have a choice of growing. That seed, you know this is an acorn seed, and then an acorn seed is quite leathery and tough. So you need to have a choice to grow. And let's get into a bit of psychology here. Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck is actually a professor of psychology at Stanford University. He actually coined these terms fixed mindset and growth mindset because it actually describes the underlying beliefs of people about learning and intelligence. So when the students or anyone believe that they can get smarter, they understand that efforts make them stronger. That makes you even more Wonder Woman-like. Therefore, they put an extra effort, time as well, and that leads to higher achievement. So the effect there is that you are getting out of your shell and choosing to grow. As you can see here, let us be in the growth mindset, because you are able to embrace challenges and you are actually able to adapt to your environment. You don't choose to hibernate. As in this case, I have a big comparison or contrast between hibernation and camouflaging. Because if you hibernate, you're just lying or just in your comfort zone. When things get tough, you don't want to get out. But if you are camouflaging, like for example, a chameleon, you are able to adapt to your environment. That's how you can actually become a tree. And now we talk about the competency that you have to build. Not everyone is born with talent or being a genius whatsoever, but you have to build it. And that's a good thing. And it comes in a lot of different forms. You can see here that I found this over the net, these core competencies that can form your career. And I believe every one of you is familiar. But one thing that stands out here right now that's important is this IT, information technology application. So everyone is going digital right now. So you have to also get into that one. In the interest of time, I cannot discuss a lot more. I only have 15 minutes. But I'm happy to share this presentation with every one of you so that you can actually make use of it. Aside from developing those core competencies, you have to get a habit. And in that habit, you can actually also form. I think everyone knows Stephen Covey, the 7 habits, and it became 8. And then there's also a third alternative. Well, those 7 habits, if I must tell you briefly, you have to be proactive. You have to begin with the end in mind. You put first things first and think win-win. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Synergize. Sharpen the saw. And then the 8th one is actually your capability to self-regulate. I really would like, especially the young ones, to get a hold of this book and read. There's a third alternative, and then that's actually beautiful because it talks about transcending from traditional solutions. It's way beyond your way of finding a solution or the other person's way of finding a solution to have a higher and better way of doing things. So that's the competency building. And then you have to plan. Yeah, you remember the song of Diana earlier. Kaya sera, bahala. So it's actually not bahala. No? You have to plan it. Diana said really got it, that you have to make a plan. And in the corporate world, we actually do what we call this individual development plan. And this is what I can share with you. You have to plan your development in the corporate world where you take a look at the short-term and long-term development. And also focus on the improvement that you have. You know your strengths, that you focus on your weaknesses as well, so that you can develop. Short-term are the ones that you can actually achieve much faster in a shorter time, and then the long-term ones is the your vision of the future. So get into that one as well. A mall of opportunities. That's what you have to seize. So that tree, you know, where in nature you see the plants really search for sunlight. So that's how we should actually also be. They say opportunities knock only once. So when the opportunity comes, you should really find out if you're going to be able to grab it. So sometimes the opportunities, you have to take a look at in a whole new way. And then that's where you can actually find your path, where your career actually leads you. And sometimes the opportunity is too glaring, it's too big, that sometimes you try to get away from it. But take a second look, and then if you must, consult and ask for advice from people whom you actually know, and of course trust. So those opportunities are out there. Think of a beehive. There's a lot of opportunities where you can actually go in the academe, in the industry, or you want to put up your own business. So there's plenty of things that you can do. And then it's a purpose-driven journey. So you have to have a sense of purpose. And what are the things that, for me, what matters is a self-awareness, focus, setting the goals, be in the now, and give and receive. Well, the self-awareness thing is you have to know who you are and what you can do. So be realistic in it. There's so many things to do in this life. So you have to get a focus. You cannot do a lot of things. Focus on 1, 2, 3, at most 3 things that you can actually do and do it very well. Set your goals. Your goals should be smart and be visionary at all times. Realistic goals, smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timeless. So that's the smart goals. Be in the now. Well, be in the now is, for me, is getting into a forward-looking approach every time. If you must spend time, 80% of it is thinking of the future, and 20% is learning from the past. Don't dwell in the past. And the last one there is to give and receive. I like the idea that Diana also shared earlier, that you don't have to be really rich, but you also need to give to people. That's really nice. I like that one. So you should God has blessed you with all these opportunities and all these riches and blessings, talent, etc. So be also a blessing to other people. And that's the time that the tree bears fruit. Yeah. You see, you may not bear the same acorn, but bear different kinds of fruit that you are able to give to others, not only to yourself. So it's a purpose-driven journey. You need to plan your journey. And for me, it starts with a definition of your success. And what are the 3 things that matters? Success for me is finding out what your preferences are, your achievements, and satisfaction. Preferences, it's what you like to do. The achievements, it can be a recognized one or a non-recognized one. And satisfaction, it's basically personal. You satisfy yourself and not anybody else. You don't live by other people's expectations. And I put their reflections because that's also part of the satisfaction thing. I have actually reflection, regroup, and revenge. Yeah, so reflection, you think of what happened, learn from it. Regroup is try to do things better, and then revenge is doing it so much better. Yeah. But you also go through phases. So going through phases, well, you start, you have your beginnings, and you have a transition, and then your goal, what kind of professional you want to be in the future. So getting through it, the marketing people, they really like to put it always in a two-dimensional box or diagram. So that's your success, and that's your phase. You have there the preferences, achievements, and satisfaction, and then the transition, beginning, transition, and your professional goal. So you have to chart your own journey. And let me now give you a story of how chemistry as a career is an excellent enabler. So you can see here, I could group it into a timeline, three timelines here, 85 to 95, 95 to 99, and 99 to present, because those are the turning points in my life. Well, you can see people, names of people there. I got inspiration specifically from my high school chemistry teacher. She was really good, and she inspired me doing chemistry. Dr. Padolina is actually my idol. That's why I also taught organic chemistry, and he was my advisor. So thank you very much for that one. When I did the graduate studies, I had lucky to have a mentor from Dr. Aloysius Baez, former Dr. Baez. Unfortunately, he passed away already. But those people actually created impact in my life. And in my undergraduate and graduate days, I was actually having had a chance to lead the UPLB Chemical Society and the Association of Filipino Students in Japan, both presidents in undergraduate and then the graduate time when I was in Japan. And then that actually honed my leadership capabilities that I actually used later on, later in life. And I also was a volunteer for the Filipino tourists and migrants in Japan. You know that a lot of Filipinos are actually in Japan. So that's, and they need a lot of help, needed a lot of help during that time. So when I went back to Philippines, I found myself making beer because that was the opportunity. It was a bit long story. I wanted to go back to teaching, and then I could have actually joined YF. But the opportunity that shown the best and what was opportune that time was brewing. I was invited to become a research specialist there, and then I didn't know anything about brewing, but I like beer. So I got into brewing, and I learned the brewing technology course there. And I have a very good German brewmaster there. You know, the seat of brewing is in Germany, and we had San Miguel had a lot of one German brewmaster there, and I was lucky to be under him as well. And I was so happy because I was able to contribute to San Miguel by having these highly attenuated beers. The technology for making beer like Red Horse and light beer, that was enzymatic. So that gave me a ticket to Novozymes. That's from 1999. And for 19 years, I actually stayed with Novozymes. Because of my background, I'm a chemist. I'm able to actually relate to a lot of different food industries. So I was a technical manager in those different food industries. And then I know brewing, so I went on to Switzerland on a global position, the technical manager for brewing specific in Switzerland. I continued, I built my competency, and then I studied further brewing in Scotland. That's the Institute of Brewing and Distilling. That's the premier school for brewing. And yeah, I realized that I really want to be more around in the corporate world. And I wanted to go back to the Philippines as well. And then for me to do that, I have to gain competencies not only in technical aspect, but also in some other things like marketing as well as in sales and also people management. So I developed, I had the chance to chart that course, my individual development plan to pursue a role in marketing and also in sales. I was marketing for juice and wine and brewing in Asia Pacific region. I was based in Beijing in China that time. And then I built the Center of Excellence also for brewing in Switzerland that time. And then now I'm actually back. I'm happy to be back here in the Philippines because yeah, we have a representative office. I was the only Filipino in the company, so they don't have a choice but me. So I'm here right now in the Philippines. So that's the brief story. And I should say that after this presentation, chart your own course on what your preferences are, achievement, satisfaction in different phases of your life. If I must translate that into learnings and experiences, this is how it looks like. But I don't want to discuss this. I don't think we have time enough, but this is how you actually plan out your career. Well, with chemistry, you can do a lot of things. So plan out what do you like, what you want to achieve, how are you going to be satisfied, and when would that be? And that gives you your own brand of success. But be relevant also. Give and receive. Okay, I think that's my last slide. Thank you very much. And that's my family. That's my bond mate and also my derivatives. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Noel, for a very inspiring talk. Thank you for reminding us and challenging us to grow and not be static, to have a sense of purpose, and to work on building competency. Now, I would like to invite back Diana so that we can address questions from the attendees. Okay, so I have a lot of questions. I put them all together. Some are related, okay? So I put them all together to the attendees, okay? You might not hear the exact question that you asked, okay? Here is the question for both of you, now each in his own field. For Diana, it says, why did you choose a career in academia and not industry? I know you started as a teacher, then you worked at Bayer in the industry, and then you went back to academia. And to Noel, okay, why did you choose a career in industry and not academia? Because you also started as a teacher, and then you went to the industry and never went back, okay? So we can start with you, Diana.
Yeah, thank you. I was actually hoping somebody will ask that question. So, because I have actually worked, as you mentioned, from, well, when I was trying to finish my PhD, all I really wanted to be is to be rich. That was my goal, right? It was a wrong goal, for sure. So to be rich, I think it's automatic people go to industry because they, for sure, they pay a lot more, way more than being a professor. So why would you want to go to be in academic position, right? That's the big question. So yeah, after I did my postdoc, I applied to Bayer Corporation, and I was there for 2 years. And I tell you, I was really, so as a student, you know, we don't get paid a lot of money. So I also, when I was a student, my parents died. So I was responsible for sending my siblings, my younger siblings, to college. So I basically sent most of my really low salary as a student to the Philippines. I would just send everything I have. So when I graduated, I have so much debt. I have a lot of, more than $10,000 debt, believe me. But when I went to industry, it was a lot of money for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of money. I'll be rich, finally. And the first thing that they do, and maybe they do it now even more, is you have a sign-up bonus in the Bayer Corporation. It's like $10,000. I almost fell down. It's like, oh my God, I've never had so much money. So I paid all my debts, and then I was debt-free. So for 2 years, I was earning money, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be rich. I'm gonna build this mansion. But you know what? After 2 years, I have money, but I feel like I'm not doing the purpose. So actually, Noel said something like, you want to find relevance. I feel like I wasn't, and it's every person has their own relevance, right? I don't feel like I'm relevant. Because back then, you know, by then I finished sending my siblings are finishing college, and like, okay, what am I gonna do now? And then I have this urge also, I really like to be able to go give back to the Philippines, because I actually have a story. I didn't mention this. When I graduated from UPLB, I was awarded this outstanding student from KKP, Kapisanan ng mga Kimiko sa Pilipinas. And Dr. Padolina, Mrs. Padolina, the female Padolina, gave the award and said, I hope you come back. We have the Balik Scientist program. And I said proudly, I don't need that Balik Scientist program. I will come back. And then I didn't come back, and I feel so guilty. And I feel like, how can I can still give back to the Philippines even if I don't come back? Because back then, like I said, I was trying to help my siblings to go to school. I still have three younger siblings, so I could not go back. And so I went to industry, and then I feel empty. So I know it sounds corny, but I tried university as academia. And that's where I felt, oh, I really enjoy teaching. I can go back. I can give back to the Philippines if I could help some Filipino students. So until now, it's my purpose to be able to help students from the Philippines. So if there are students there that would love to, you know, work in analytical chemistry, I will welcome you in my lab. That's my story. That's why I stick with academia. I still want to be rich though, but hopefully I will.
You are rich.
No, I still want to own that mansion in my picture that I showed you.
Okay, I guess that's on me now. Well, I think it was a trap because I think Diane, you mentioned that the most outstanding student. I was also given the time when I graduate, and then I was asked, okay, why don't you teach in the university? And that's why I actually started teaching also in the Institute of Chemistry. But I really wanted to get out as well, because I wanted to widen my horizon. And luckily, Dr. Baez actually showed me the way for me to go out. And that's why I went to Japan, got the Mombusho scholarship. And then the plan for me was actually to go back because I really like teaching. But when I got back, there was no opportunity for me to teach there at the institute. It was not the best opportunity for me to apply my what I learned in Japan. I wanted actually also the next option was going to the Department of Energy, Environmental Natural Resources, DENR, because I learned marine environmental science. I have the same dream as you, Diane. I am an environmentalist at heart as well. That's why I pursued the marine environmental science. But there was no opportunity there as well. And you see opportunities here and there, but you have to find a fit. I was about to join YS that time, but there was a strike, so it was not the plan. I could I was already hired, but I couldn't get into the plant because there was a strike for a long time. And then I cannot go on waiting for my job there, because I also needed to provide for my family. Yeah, I wasn't also born with a silver spoon in my mouth, so I have to really go out there. So I happened to meet people from San Miguel, and I said, no, I don't have any competency in brewing. I don't know beer, but if I can do research, I'm chemist, so I can do research, and that's how it happened. And it went through, and this opportunity from Novozymes came, and my German brewmaster said, "Okay, Noel, this because I don't know Novozymes, and this German brewmaster actually told me this is a big opportunity. Novozymes is the biggest enzyme company in the world. It has more than half of the world's market for enzymes in technical and food industries. It is an opportunity for you. I am happy to push you out because that's gonna be a good thing for you." So that was my boss saying me from San Miguel. So I was really relieved that it was so. And then he actually showed me the way. So going through life, you have to have these mentors also that you should be talking to. And I'm glad that Elementa have this career orientation program, because this is one way of reaching out to those people who actually need advice. And when I was with Novozymes, I found out that I can also pursue my lifelong dream of becoming an environmentalist, because the solutions that we provide, Novozymes actually getting into sustainability. We are actually decoupling the use of natural resources with the development. Usually it's going high like that, right? So we're doing it like this. And we are saving a lot of the carbon footprint. We are saving about 70 million cars in a year with the use of our solutions, enzymes in food and technical industries. And I'm sure you know where enzymes are, but you don't see in the label because it's not labeled in the products. But everything around you has enzymes in it: the detergents, the food, etc., colas, biofuel, bioenergy, etc. So that is why I actually it's also an indirect way of giving back to nature. And I am happy that I am back. I wanted to go back to the Philippines because I want to help Philippines in this technology, because Philippines, I'm sorry to say that it's really lagging behind the Southeast Asian neighbors. Our benchmark Southeast Asia, Philippines is actually here. It's a pity. So that's why it's our gargantuan task for us to really get into that market. So I'm actually excited to do that. That's why I'm here with Novozymes there.
Thank you. So there is a question, but now with your answer to the previous question, you have answered it. The question was, when did you realize that you want to pursue a career in the academy and not in the industry? And also for Noel, okay? So that was answered. Now there's a specific question for Dr. Aga. It says, in your presentation, you did water analysis of samples from the Philippines, and you sampled milk from mothers, okay, also from the Philippines. The question is, do most of your sampling from the Philippines and other Asian countries? If yes, why? Is it because Asian samples are expected to have high contaminants, or other reasons too?
Both, but yes, Asian samples are expected to have contaminants more higher than what we would expect here in the US or in Europe, but mostly because I'm actually really interested. So I know some friends and relatives about the milk samples that really intrigued me, because maybe it seems like the incidence of ADHD and bipolar and psychological and mental development is increasing in the Philippines. And then we also have women with goiter and some, so these are endocrine disrupting chemicals. And I've been studying about them, and a lot of these chemicals are fat soluble, so they accumulate in milk. And then here we go. So everything is really pointing to that. So Filipinos breast milk, as I showed you, even in elementary school, dumididi pa rin yung mga bata. And then we like the fatty, everything that we eat is fat. The most expensive part of bangus is the bangus belly. And we all like it, right? The fattier, the better. And all these fats are the one that would accumulate these chemicals. So that's why I was interested in that. And of course, I wanted to find solution. And I know that it's a big problem, but if I could just contribute a little bit to the Philippine environment and Philippine health, I would be happy. And actually now, so the fluoroalkyl substances, I know that most Filipino now in even the provinces are drinking bottled water, as they assume that drinking water is the cleanest one. But I actually know that some of this bottled water are not actually regulated. So, I mean, you could go to one corner from Manila in Cubao and you'll find this bottling, water bottling company, and no one regulates it. So we're paying a lot of money for clean water, maybe. And so that's why I went to the Philippines also. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why. And also for funding when we write, grants to get funding, the US government and the other international government, they like to include Asia for equity and diversity and, all that kind of important things. So because a lot of research are already being done in the US and Europe, but not so much in Asia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Now, I have several questions on environmental chemistry, environmental science, because both of you mentioned environmental science. So one is for Noel, why didn't you pursue a career in environmental science? And for Diana, what are the opportunities for environmental scientists?
Well, I have said, I shared earlier that there are a lot of opportunities out there. But for me, the career in environmental science didn't really show up. I went back to Philippines. I wanted to pursue a career there in the Department of DENR, Environment and Natural Resources. But I'm sorry to say that was 20 years ago. And yeah, they're not concerned about the environment. I guess currently right now, I think this is the right time because we actually talk about a lot sustainability. Every company has a big corporate agenda on sustainability. And I am, although I am not directly right now in the environmental science role, I am actually indirectly getting into sustainability part of the environment. Because for once, I can tell you that with the way we are providing solutions, for example, in the brewery, if we are replacing raw materials, we are already saving a lot of carbon footprint in there. So much that you can actually really get that into your sustainability report as a company. And that's what we need to do. There's so many things that enzymes can actually do in the food industries. In household care, yeah, the detergents that you are using, it has enzymes in it. That's why it's so easy to clean clothes right now. And we are lowering the temperature for that one. And if you lower the temperature, you're saving energy there as well. And in the food industries, in baking, we have breads that last for long in the US. Transport is really, transport time is needed, and we are getting the shelf life of the breads longer. So that gets also a lot of savings in the raw materials and energy and carbon footprint. So many other things. And I am happy. I stayed with it, as I have shared before, because I am contributing to the sustainability part of the goal of each and every nation. You know, in the UN, you have the goals there, sustainability agenda in the UN that's right now being imposed to each and every country. I think, Diana, you're very much familiar with that one. So there's a sustainability, a development agenda there.
Yeah. Well, like you said, there's so many. And while I'm an analytical chemist, there are other opportunities. If you're an inorganic chemist, you can develop organometallic catalysts to break down all these contaminants. If you're a physical chemist, you can develop membranes and treatment systems. If you're an organic chemist, you can find better synthetic systems, more efficient systems, so you don't create a lot of byproducts that are not necessary. And you can use nice chemistry to develop compounds in a faster, more efficient way without using a lot of hazardous chemicals. And then, of course, as an analytical chemist, is endless possibilities. I work with engineers because they are the ones that are trying to develop treatment systems, and they need to be able to determine how much is being removed and how much are being produced. I'm also working, a lot of my students have been working with toxicologists because, of course, they need to develop methods to find out what is being absorbed in our body, in our blood, in urine, and all that. So actually the analytical chemistry part, even though my students are trained in like environmental samples, some of them actually get hired also in pharmaceutical industry, in beer brewing, for example, because analytical chemistry is needed everywhere.
Okay, thank you. By the way, that question was posted by a student in Bangladesh through Facebook Live. So we're using Zoom, but this is also broadcasted on Facebook Live. Okay.
I have a lot of students from Bangladesh.
Okay. Here's a question for Noel. What's the most difficult aspect of working in the industry?
Well, for me, the most difficult thing is you have to deal with politics in the corporate world. You have to really navigate yourself and work with people. Politics in the sense of being able to really work with each and every kind of personality. So many of them. You will encounter a lot of them. Some they appear to know it all, and some are really really proud, and yeah, those are the things that's really sometimes putting me off. Very sarcastic at times, but you have to deal with those things. These are all around you. But as what I shared earlier, you have to get some reflections. You have to find out what can you actually do to get or work with that person, because the corporate world is not you alone. You have to work as a team. You have different functions. You have if you are in the technical service, you need marketing, you have sales, you have regulatory, you have everything around you, supply chain, and every time you have to deal with each and every one. So I think for me, and I must share that having joined ChemSoc is one of the real great opportunities for you students. I hope a lot of students here from UPLB are hearing this out, because in ChemSoc, when you are in ChemSoc, there's so many personalities in there as well. And then when you discuss things, it's like shouting here and there. You won't hear that a lot in the corporate world, but it's shouting in a different sense. But it actually helps you really deal with a lot of different kinds of people, and that you actually need when you are in the corporate world. I
Can,
find
can
it hardest, but I think I am able to deal with it.
Can I say something? Because I know you didn't
Yeah.
ask, but you mentioned something about joining ChemSoc, and I have to say, I would have to agree also. When I joined ChemSoc, I came from a province. I was so shy. Actually, Lani developed my personality. I became well, from being shy to walang hiya. But I would not say anything. I was just like, I'm just very timid. But joining the ChemSoc actually developed my personality, my leadership skills, my interpersonal skills. And that's very important in being successful, whether you're in academia, in government, or in industry. Because like I also deal with many, many personalities, right? I have 12 PhD students, and they have very different personality, different culture. They came from, wide backgrounds and so on. So dealing with them also requires a lot of this very different personality and your interpersonal skills. So yeah, that's something you wouldn't learn in the classroom.
If I must give an advice, in the corporate world, whenever you are angry, don't write anything, especially emails or what. Don't write, never write. Just sleep over, take a deep breath, think, and well, when you write, it's on a constructive manner. Be objective and be constructive. It's there's no point pointing fingers.
Mhm.
No one is at fault. Just be objective. What can we do? It happened. What can we do?
Yeah.
That's how it.
And dealing with personality. So because you said that too, so like I would have a student, and it's really common when students they would like backbite each other, right? If they don't get along. They don't get along. Oh, person A, she did this, blah, blah, blah. And then the other person, oh, she did this, blah, blah, blah. So they come to me individually and they tell me, oh, this person sabotaged my, and the all I've learned to do something is, the first thing I say is, I understand your frustration. So you always have to, you can't just, go in, but you have to understand every personality. That's good.
Okay. So Diana, there's a similar question for you, Dr. Diana. In your own personal experience, what's the most challenging aspect of being a professor at a Research One university? They're similar, questions are similar.
Yeah, similar. Thank you. I think so. For the Research One, I think the most challenging is writing grants. Because so just to give you an example, to support a PhD student, at just the salary and all, you have to put like $30,000 a year. And then on top of that, I have to, buy the instruments and the chemicals. And on top of that, I have to teach. And then I have to, write. And also the people, sometimes when they write papers, you have to edit it. And believe me, a lot of the students really don't know how to write papers. So it's very time consuming. But I think the most challenging is writing grants. I write grants almost every 3 months. And the success rate for grants is only 5%. So I would write maybe, 10 proposals, and I don't know, it's a lot of work. Because if you stop writing, then you will never get grant. It's kind of like, I heard this from a priest. It stuck in my brain. There was a priest that said, there was a guy who kept saying, please, Lord, let me win the lottery, let me win the lottery. And then he was so mad because he never won the lottery. And then God spoke, well, you never bought the ticket. So, so it's like that, I pray, God, please give me a, grant my proposal. Let me please get the funding. But if I don't write the grant, I will never get the funding. So.
Okay, thank you. So we have several more questions here. Okay, but we are limited with time. So for the questions that we were not able to address, okay, we will contact you. Okay, but there's just one more question here. Okay, it says, what is the most useful experience you had in ChemSoc and UPLB that helped you in your career?
Ooh.
Let us end with that.
Noel, you go first. I have to think. a $100 million
Yeah.
question.
Well,
What's the Why say it again?
What is the most useful experience you had in ChemSoc and UPLB that helped you in your career?
Oh my gosh.
okay, well,
Who asked that question?
I think well, for me, well, I never really planned, and I never really entertained being the president when I was in my fourth senior year in the university, because my focus was really to graduate, and because I need to earn. Yeah, that's the big focus. There's a dire need for that one, but because when I thought that if I would be getting that position, I would be dividing my time, and I won't be in focus. But looking back, currently right now, I was a president 1988 and 89, and we did a lot of things with ChemSoc. We had a lot of activities. We even had this most outstanding student organization award during that. So it was good because of the activities that we were doing. But apart from all those things, I gained a lot of friends, and also helped me with my studies. So it's another way of getting into your goal. You have this goal, but you get some help. I never thought that I would be able to get help from ChemSoc, getting into where I am right now as well, with during my undergraduate years. So it was really a nice experience, and my goodness, being a president of this really proud people, different kinds of people. It was a headache, but it helps you develop your competency on really dealing with different different people in all walks of life. So I cherish those moments when I was with ChemSoc, and that's one of the things that is still with me. When you're with ChemSoc, you're ChemSoc forever, and you have the network, eternal network of friends, new and old. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Okay, Diane.
yeah. I've been thinking while you're talking, because there are many, of course. There are many. There are things that I don't want to share in the whole FB Live because they're kind of like, censored. So maybe I shouldn't do that. So I'll share the PG-13 or the rated PG.
Okay.
All right. I think one of the things that I really learned from ChemSoc is time management, because we are studying, we are doing all these activities, but also I think if I didn't join ChemSoc, I wouldn't probably even know about going to grad school. I learned about grad school because all these ChemSoc people are going abroad, and like I have no idea how they can afford it, and I didn't even know it's free, right? And then also the ChemSoc people, they sent me like this brochure, so that connection. So I learned from them. The other thing is, again, like I said, we also did a lot of this overnight studying for PChem, for organic chem. So a lot of those are ChemSoc, and
Yeah,
it helped me a lot. It helped me a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And lastly, even now, I still, meet a lot of ChemSoc here. So yeah, I think time management and developing this lifelong friendships is still helping me until now.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. This has been a remarkable session. As I have said, the questions that weren't answered, we will get back to you through your email addresses. If you have any further questions to the organizers or would like to get in touch with any of the speakers, you can contact us at the email, okay, address on the screen. Okay. We sincerely thank our speakers for sharing their experiences and for inspiring us all, okay, to go and do something to make our world a better place to live in through chemistry. Before we end, we would like to acknowledge Dr. Marivic Laksamana, the Director of the Institute of Chemistry at UPLB, and the faculty and staff for their continued support. We would also like to recognize Mr. Rey Espiritu, another ChemSoc alumnus, for sharing his platform to host the webinar, and to his team from MEDConcept Solutions, or MEDConcept, for technical support. Thank you, Rey and MEDConcept. So I would like to call on Mr. Rene Jocaris now from the land down under to give us some announcement.
Good day. This is Rene joining you from Brisbane, Australia. This week, we saw a very significant event. One of that was the landing of the 5th rover on the surface of the red planet. Now, there are already 5 rovers on the surface of Mars. They are Sojourner, Opportunity, Spirit, Curiosity, and Perseverance. These names surprisingly reflect the qualities of ChemSoc alumni. Would you believe that we are named after rovers? Our qualities are named after rovers. Anyway, that's just me being me. I would like to thank our inspiring speakers today, Dr. Diana Aga from the Academe and Noel Bautista from industry. And I would like to express my gratitude to Rey as well for his team at MEDConcepts for facilitating this webinar series, and acknowledging the support of UPLB Chancellor Dong Camacho for the Elemental projects. And our next webinar session will be in 2 weeks' time, Saturday, the 6th of March. It will be the continuation of the career pathways for chemistry. The speakers for that will be yours truly, I think, oh dear. Yours truly and Neil Concibido. We will be including some insights into advanced analytical facilities and in a university setting and safety parameters involved in them. Everyone is very much welcome to attend, and thank you very much for attending. Stay safe, everyone, and have a good weekend.
Ending webinar broadcast in 3, 2, 1.